Why, hello there, lovely listeners and viewers. You have found your way back down the red rabbit hole. And why? Well, because we have an author guest. Yes, Lisa's been out with that sack once again, finding those authors, and she's bagged a good one. She's bagged Sally-Anne Martyn. She's with us. Hi, Sally-Anne.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Like you had a choice in the matter.
Yeah.
And of course,
Sorry. Saw your profile and just went, right, I'm going to drag her down to the hole.
I don't mind.
Well, as usual, I am one of your co-hosts. I'm best-selling thriller author NV Peacock, otherwise known as Nikki, and with me is also Lisa Shepherd.
Hello.
You're forgetting your tags.
Oh, have I got to say, have I?
Yeah.
Okay. Therapist, comedian, and present Hamilton cosplayer.
Yes, according to TikTok. I love the moustache you kind of put on yourself. It's hilarious. You should be doing the show dressed as that.
I should. That would be good, wouldn't it? Well, by the time this airs, that trend is going to long gone, and people will be like, "What are you talking about?" But remember the days. Remember the days when Hamilton was trending all over TikTok. We were there, climbing into a massive sack.
Yes. Using your sack for the power of good rather than evil.
I was indeed. I was.
Well, Sally-Anne is with us for a couple of episodes. We are going to keep her the week. And for this first one, she wanted to talk about some of the research that she's done for her book. So Sally-Anne, give us a little bit of background about yourself and the book you want to talk about for this episode.
Okay, well, I had my first book published at Clinic 2023, and at 45, so a later writer. So there's a note for anyone, you're never too old to start writing and get that deal. And I hadn't really written before. I'd started that book in 2018, determined to see it through. I was going to finish it. I was going to do everything I could to get it published, and I was just relentless, which you have to be. So that's really my writing background. Before then, I'd done articles in magazines when I felt like it. If something bothered me or something interested me, I'd write something, then send it to a magazine or online. A really bad attempt at a children's book that was awful. About 3 pages of an erotic thriller that was equally awful, worse actually, if you like. It's not my thing.
You didn't try merging the two,
because that would have been disastrous.
That wouldn't have been great.
Yeah, that wouldn't go down so well.
For the picture crossover.
Just went to what I have had my interest all my life from being a child is darkness, and not horror, but it verges on it at times. Dark thrillers, so Tales of the Unexpected. I grew up with that. Hammer House. From being like 6 years old, 7 years old, I've always watched that. So I kind of went to what I knew. And women, always female led.
Top tip, Roald Dahl wrote Tales of the Unexpected, but he also wrote the original Gremlins, which the Gremlins film was based on.
Yes, I did know that because I listened the biographies on him. He did a lot of stuff. He invented, I think I'm right, I'm saying this, the brain stent, because he had a child that was it his child that had been in an accident, and because he was a fighter pilot as well. I mean, he was just a lot of things. But yeah, he invented the stent, and I'll die on that hill, maybe. I'm sure that's true.
Yeah, it sounds like something he'd do. He had his own shed to write in, didn't he? So he had like a 9 to 5 office, which I think a lot of us kind of need, don't we?
Yeah, somewhere to hide away.
Yeah, that kind of division between the home life and work life.
What a life, eh? I mean, you can't really do that anymore. Like, you often hear about historical figures, and then they were in the military, and then they were this, and then they were that, and then they did that. And I'm like, I'm not sure career change is that easy to do these days.
No.
Well, at least we know back then he was a kind of a celebrity that did write his own books,
Yeah, definitely did.
Something you can't be sure of now.
No, and you can't say anything about it.
No, apparently not.
What's your
So,
favourite? What's your favourite Roald Dahl book? Both
oh,
of
I
you.
think The Witches.
Oh, yeah. That says a lot about you.
It does, doesn't it?
I
As I
never,
take
I,
off my shoes and show my square feet.
I never read the children. Obviously, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the book. But even as a child, it was Tales of the Unexpected. It was those stories that I was reading. I didn't read his children's books.
Mm,
I think the die was cast from a very young age for me.
Mine
yeah.
was BFG. It always is, still is the BFG. I'm still waiting for a giant to come and just pluck me out the window and take me off for an
Call
adventure.
you a human bean.
Yeah.
All right, little bean.
Yeah.
So, Sally-Anne, the book that you did all the research on,
Mhm. The Beauty Queen.
The Beauty Queen, yeah. So this episode we're going to be talking about the dark side of beauty pageants, which, in
It's pretty
fairness,
dark.
I was going to say that's all there is from what I can tell. There doesn't seem to be much of a good side other than perhaps a little bit of money that goes and like grants and stuff to the girls to get them to university or wherever they want to go or whatever they want to do in life. But there's not much else.
Yeah, and it's a kind of a thing like that because the book is set, the pageant, well, the beauty contest happens in 1982 when these things were much more of a thing. I think in America it's still a thing.
Mm,
In the UK, not so much. I don't remember. Well, Miss World hasn't been on TV for, I don't remember when it was last on television or a big deal, at least. But in those times, it was Miss UK, Miss England, Miss World. You know, they were huge events. They would sit down and everybody'd watch it on TV. Um,
I
so
think it has roots. The idea of the pageant kind of has roots in, the idea of like the May Queen, the crowning of the May Queen, some of those kind of
mm.
medieval sort of practices. And we still, I mean, there's a village local to me where they still crown a May Queen each year.
Do you
yeah,
go there, Elisa, every year with the hopes of being crowned?
Absolutely.
You're the one
I do.
sad adult in the
Young
crowd dressed
people,
in
like
white.
young people who live there, seem to get it. Not the old broad
not
who
the
wanders in
incomers.
with flowers round her head, prepared for it.
Well,
But I
I
think,
grew up in in the Peak District in a village Hathersage, which is just outside Sheffield, and it's I always thought we were like a Church of England village because I went to a Church of England school. It was beautiful, but so much of what we did was pagan. Like now I know because I've watched The Wicker Man and I'm thinking, we used to do that. We used to do that. I was like, okay, so this wasn't strictly church. You know, we had the May Day, the Maypole dancing. We used to do that every year on May Day. We had carnival queens. You know, I was the flower girl 3 times. Much,
jealous.
much to the annoyance, a little boy came up to me in the playground after one and had a real go at me because his sister didn't get it and I got it. So
Oh well,
I was
sucks
never the
to be his
queen.
sister.
Brother, but yeah, so
But yeah, I think it's always been a thing, hasn't it, to be picked, the little girl, you get, and they
Mm.
seemed quite old, the carnival queens then, but they were anything from 13 years old, 16. You wouldn't be much older than that, and you'd be the carnival queen paraded through the village on a flat floral float. Very midsummer.
Mm. I was
Well,
going to say about Midsummer.
apparently it was P.T. Barnum who set up the first sort of beauty kind of contest. He used
Well,
to
that
have
kind of
in
says it
his
all,
attempt to
doesn't it?
display women.
His
Um,
attempt to display women.
yes, was controversial, so he switched to photo-based competitions where audiences voted for the most beautiful. But yeah, that does say something about beauty presence, doesn't it? If it comes from
Mm.
P.T. Barnum, that idea of objectifying someone, because that's precisely what he did. He just went,
Yeah.
how can I make money off how you look?
Yes.
Mm.
Regardless of how you looked, it was all different kinds of looks for him. But yeah, beauty would be
Yeah.
them.
I still think of Miss Congeniality, the Sandra Bullock film. The minute I
Brilliant
saw
film.
that we were doing beauty pageants, I was like, "Ooh, hello!" And still, my favourite line in that was when one of the pageant queens was asked a question of what's your ideal date, and she went April 4th because
Yeah.
it's not too cold and it's not too hot. I can go out with a small jumper on or something.
Genius. Absolute
Yeah.
genius women. That's kind of what I want to answer if someone asked me what's my ideal date. Slightly fights against the objectification thing, doesn't it, really?
Yeah. But
And the idea that obviously all women go, oh, well, I want to be wined and dined and I want to be taken here and I want this, that, and the other.
we
No, I
secretly do
just,
though, don't we? Want to be treated
yeah.
like princesses. I think that's part of the whole beauty pageant thing. You get crowned, don't you, as a royalty, and we all want that princess treatment. It
Yeah,
plays into that a little bit.
and again, going back like before social media, where everybody had a chance to be on, get their 15 minutes and have their profiles, that was the most beautiful, they were the most beautiful women. They often not only got the prize, they'd often bag a celebrity. Michael Caine married a Miss World. Tom Jones had an affair with a Miss World who then lost a crown for having the affair with him. Who else? Bruce Forsyth. I think he went out with a couple of Miss Worlds and married one. So not only could you be the most beautiful woman in the world, get the money, travel the world, you might bag yourself a Saturday night entertainer or a pop singer.
It'll cost you your crown.
Yeah, it
Tom
did.
Jones cost you your crown. Was it
Yeah,
worth it?
I think
I
they were
don't know.
photographed on a beach in Barbados, and that's how the story broke. And then she brought the Miss World into disrepute, so she was off.
Well, there was that shift, wasn't there? Because I think it sort of started in the 1920s and was all about beauty and dance and the smiles. And then kind of through time started to get into a bit more kind of sticky area and a bit of controversy about kind of really narrow beauty standards, and it's all Eurocentric, it's all white, it's all slim, it's all, a certain type. So then I think, was it the 90s or was it early 2000s? They started to kind of make it a little bit more, don't do a dance for us. Tell us what you want to see for the world. Tell us, how would you achieve world peace? Sort of become into one of the questions, didn't it? Like they
Whilst in a
tried to sort of
bikini.
PC it a bit. Yeah, yeah, while standing there in a bikini. So yeah,
Yeah,
we don't want to cover you up too much, ladies. We still want to see you, but could you please suddenly produce a bit of depth out of somewhere?
say something intelligent, please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We want everything. We want intelligence, beauty, talent. That actually, it's hard, isn't it? I'd never win a
I
beauty
couldn't be bothered.
contest for
I could
various
not be
reasons.
bothered for many
Yeah,
reasons.
it's a
I
lot of
wouldn't be.
effort. Yeah.
A lot of effort. I'm far too lazy to be Miss World, so credit to them. But they used to, I think they crowned them for a period of time in their bikini. That was the last thing. So they'd have the crown on, and gradually things changed. And then they changed it. So, and that was probably the 70s, 80s. Then they had their evening gowns on before they were crowned. So it kind of, yeah, it's brave going on in your bikini. I don't even like going from a sunbed to the sea in my bikini, let alone prancing around on a stage and being crowned in it and having millions and millions of people around the world judge me. Yeah, there's many reasons I couldn't be Miss World. That would be just one of them.
I'm really competitive, so I think I could definitely do it.
Nikki's in the next round coming up.
Yeah. No one wants to see my plan for world peace. It
It's
involves
Corby.
cheese. Yeah. Everybody just eats lots of cheese together. We have a cheese board and we just get things done.
But I suppose one of the darker sides or particular sides that in popular culture has always been viewed negatively is the child side of it. When
Mm,
did it shift from it being women to being children, basically dressed up to look like women, like
mm.
tiny children with cakes, faces full of makeup, and or even like the hairstyles they give them, and the makeup and the things they dress them in make them look like little like dolls, but dolls that are meant to look like fully grown women.
Yeah, they look like middle-aged little dolls, like pretty
Yeah.
middle-aged women dolls. Like their hair, it's like the shopping mall kind of feather boa photographs, isn't it? It's yeah, just very overdone. Like not many women wear that much makeup or take that much care on their hair as some of those children do.
Mm.
And obviously
And I,
that's more America, but maybe that'll come. Everything follows from America here, so you never know. We might start doing that more here.
and I
God
think
forbid that.
we'd be remiss as a true crime podcast without mentioning JonBenét Ramsey.
Mm.
And what happened there?
She's
Because
the image that comes to mind when I think of the
yeah,
pictures of little girls. 'Cause I've seen like videos, I've seen videos recently, I think, of little girls like getting ready. So get ready with me for the pageant kind of thing. And they just look like this normal little child who you'd see running around the park and you wouldn't think anything of. And then the next shot, when they're all done up, you're like, oh gosh. As you say, Sally-Anne, you now look like a middle-aged woman who's dressed up for a proper big night out in the town.
in the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they've always got the curls, the set hair, and up in an updo, and but the
Vaseline on
crowd.
their
Have you
teeth
ever
so they
seen
can
that? Like
smile.
when you see the successful ones, their trophy rooms are insane. Like the crowns are beautiful, like these huge. If you like glitter and sparkle, like the prizes they get, the trophies are insane.
But the
Maybe
pressure,
it is.
Yeah,
that's that's what I don't believe in. I think putting that kind of pressure and competitiveness on a child for something so trivial, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? Like as looks is kind of what's all
Yeah.
wrong with the world today anyway.
And what's it going to really achieve for you in the future? If you,
Mm.
you win all these trophies when you're like 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, and then is that gonna is that gonna give you? I suppose it might give you a bit of confidence in the future.
I guess it would be
Like,
interesting to see how many of those little children grow up, and then because you're probably not going to be beautiful. It's harsh, but you're probably not going to be beautiful enough to do the grown-up pageants just because you're a pretty girl.
mm,
Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to cut the mustard when you're an 18-year-old, 20-year-old.
But it's subjective as well, isn't it? You know, what some one person considers beautiful, another one might not. So it's
Mm.
it seems to conform to society's belief on beauty, which is all on the outside rather than the in, which is the scary bit. But
And I think with JonBenét Ramsey, probably part of the reason the parents were under such scrutiny was purely because of what they did, because of the pageant, because who would do that to their child, and clearly you'd probably see that played into it a lot. I think the very fact she was doing things and she looked like a little adult, I
mm,
think that's where the focus went on the parents.
yeah, and there was a lot of theories as to what kind of happened, and the kind of I mean they did scrutinize the family a lot, like the McCanns. I'm guessing the first people in the room are the first people that they're going to scrutinize for it. But it was only recently that they let out about the DNA on JonBenét Ramsey's underwear because
Yeah.
it was a foreign male DNA on it, but they found that male DNA was on other pieces of underwear. They think it was contaminated at the factory,
Oh,
which
oh,
is very worrying generally
mm,
for kind of crime,
yeah.
because you just think, that factory worker, whoever packed the underwear into the box or whatever, got his sweat or his skin or whatever on the underwear.
would
How
they
many
not look?
crimes is he going to be?
I'm assuming it's got to be all like a new pack of,
Yeah,
pack of
well,
five,
I
that's on
mean,
those ones.
it's
Because as soon as
also
it's
the
washed, right, it's,
exactly, it's also the kind of plus side for you should wash everything before you wear it. Don't
yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
I thought that I was when I was just saying before we I was on holiday in Turkey last week and we went on a boat trip. This is probably sounds really grim, but there were some beds there, like spongy mattresses on the bed. And I said to my son, I went, "Oh, like I wonder who's like
mm,
sweated on this." And I thought, hold on a minute, if 100 people just sweated on this thing in the
yeah.
heat, and what if something happened here and they take the DNA
Mm.
off?
Mm. There's been many a person that's been convicted on touched DNA that shouldn't have been, or
Yeah.
accused of things because their DNA was on something that it couldn't actually have been on. There was that case in Australia where one of the victims sat in a fast food restaurant and sat back in a chair that some trucker had sat in just before her, and so his DNA got on her top.
Right.
Oh gosh. Wasn't there was a case where was it the swabs or the gloves or something came out of a factory and they kept having this particular DNA come up?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then it ended up like it was somebody in a factory making the things, but the
Mm.
DNA kept coming and they thought
You'd
they had a
think,
serial killer because the DNA kept coming up and it was like this one batch.
See,
but
this plays into my biggest fear of being wrongly accused of a crime. This is I'm not going to touch anything or go anywhere. It just, oh, the idea of it.
But what an alibi, though, if you got a job as a swab maker.
Yes, that's what
You'd
they
be like,
Yeah,
do.
well, my
That
DNA was obviously
hurts.
going to be there.
yeah. You're always looking for the perfect way to get away with murder, aren't
I
you, Nikki?
know.
She's always got every time it's something like that. It's an idea. That's a
Yeah.
good one to use. So we should say, I mean, not that I imagine there is anyone listening or watching who doesn't know about JonBenét's case, but maybe we should give a quick little rundown. So JonBenét was our 6-year-old beauty queen, and in December 26, right after Christmas in 1996, her parents called the police because she was missing. They'd found a 2.5-page letter
A ransom note.
scrawled out, a ransom note, hadn't they, saying that she
Hmm.
was missing, and that they had her, and that they had to pay a $118,000 fee to get her back, the ransom. But then later on, like there were police and everyone trawling all over that house, wasn't there? It was really busy. There were loads of people coming and going. And eventually, someone, I think about midday or in the afternoon at some point, somebody went downstairs and then they found JonBenét's body in the cellar downstairs, and there's all sorts of bizarre details that, I mean, we'll kind of pick out the ones that are interesting, I suppose. But there's like, she had pineapple in her stomach, there was a bowl there, it looked like she'd been eating, there was a window in the cellar that somebody could have gone out of there, because there'd been so many people coming and going, like the scene had basically been trashed already before they'd even found her. And then I think the cause of death was strangulation, but also hit with a blunt force trauma, but blunt force trauma from being hit with something. Um, so
Was
I'm
it
not
a
quite.
torch or something? Was there was a torch found
There
there,
was
wasn't there?
something there, wasn't there, that they found. Um, And yes, it is as yet unsolved case, isn't it? So,
Mm,
the parents, as we've said, the parents have been under a bit of scrutiny. The brother, there's been a
yeah.
lot of theories about the brother that maybe because he's an older brother. See, I think he is her biological brother, but I think there's other children that aren't. So I think there's a step family. There's
Yeah.
some family dynamics, isn't there? And then, yeah, the brother got accused, or that's I suppose one of the theories that comes through strongly is that he did it, and maybe the parents kind of covered that up for him by
Yeah.
writing the ransom note. I mean, a 2.5-page ransom note. Who's got time to do that?
And the money was very telling as well because it was a very odd amount of 118,000, but it was the exact amount that JonBenét Ramsey's dad had had as a bonus that year.
Yeah.
So
So
it
Yeah.
was
that's what
kind
they
of
thought it
that.
was an inside somebody who knew the family had done it
Yeah.
was,
And there was something to
yeah.
do like spelling mistakes in it as well because there was like a practice letter that was near it too that had a lot of spelling mistakes on that should.
Underneath, was it
Yeah.
written through? You could tell that someone had done like a practice
Yeah.
one. You've just kidnapped this child. Maybe she's unconscious or whatever, but really, have you got time to sit there and
But they
write a two
they
and a half
didn't
page?
they didn't kidnap any child because she was in
No,
the house
she was dead.
still, you
Yeah.
know. So it to me it was just like madness. But there was
Mm,
a lot of suspects, and one of them was a teacher that was just an awful character within the whole kind of thing,
mm,
and he apparently admitted to doing something to a journalist that he'd
oh.
done it, but again, they had no real proof, and everything was like you said. There was too many people on the crime scene. The crime scene had been completely contaminated, but they couldn't prove either way what he said was true or false. So
Yeah, I
Sally-Anne, what are
watched
your
the
theories?
there's a documentary that came out not that long ago. I watched it, it may have been an old one that Netflix released on it. And up until then, it's just, I always think it's a scary thing with these things is that I just left it years and years ago thinking, well, it was the parents, just because you didn't really know as much, there's not all the internet stuff. So you just go down. And then I was really surprised watching the documentary that I was very clear it wasn't the dad
mm.
for whatever, and I can't remember why, but it just seemed very, very clear to me. And I was like, poor man. You not only do you not know what's happened to your child, you're accused of it. And I don't know because nobody knows who actually did it. But it just seemed to me it wasn't him. But I always think it's a real thing with media where you leave a story, you go off and your opinion is formed for good until you see something else. And at
It,
that point, the mum's died, hasn't she? Has she since died? I think
I don't
Sh-
know.
She had cancer, I
yeah,
think. She
yeah,
had cancer, she recovered, and then I think she got cancer again
yeah,
and wasn't able to
yeah.
But
survive a second
the
time
dad is
round.
pushing for more investigation, so you'd kind of
I
think
th-
if it was him, he wouldn't be pushing this hard because he was like,
I
"You've
also
you've given so much attention to my family that you've ignored other leads."
I think he commissioned that documentary.
Oh, do you think?
I'm sure there was something about it that he'd paid. He was producer or he was something to do with
Mm.
that documentary being made, which could be because, actually, why am I investigating? If it was me, I don't want any more light shone on this. But I remember that angle being incredibly strong in that documentary as well, that
Yeah.
Mm.
his innocence was very strongly pushed forward. And that's the thing with any
So
kind of
like a double
documentary. They're
bluff.
gonna push their narrative
Mm.
See, this is why
regardless,
I
aren't
always
they?
think I'd like to work for the FBI in behavioral sciences, but I believe everybody, so I don't think I'll be very good. I'm very, oh, he's so nice though. No, it wasn't him. Definitely just look no further. So yeah, yeah, that would make sense that he had done that, and I believe him now. It could change in the next documentary. Who knows?
Our real profiling geniuses are the editors, aren't they? Because
Yeah,
they are telling you what to think of people.
Yes, yeah, it's a narrative. It's all a narrative. It's all a
yeah.
story. It's
I was on a game show a long time ago, and the one of the nicest people there, absolutely the loveliest guy out of everyone. When they screened the show, he came across as a bit of a villain. It's like, how has this happened? That's like, how have they edited that person out of everyone to look a little bit like the villain, like the really competitive person on the show? He was the nicest.
I can't think of any example. I know I watch a lot of true crime documentaries, and there's some there's a narrative, but I don't like it when they hold back stuff on the timeline and then you find out later, well, you knew that before, so I see what you've done there. A
Mm.
few that do that, but have you seen the Murdaugh one? The Murdaugh family.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah.
Like that is, you couldn't make that up. You literally couldn't make that up because if I sent that story to an editor, they go, no, this would never happen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's chronological and but when they do, so when they hold things back for the sake of making a story and making a shock, I'm not so keen on that.
Mm.
I'm not sure, Nikki, are we criming off today?
No,
I
no, not
just checked
or
because she's
next time.
talking about bizarre cases.
Yeah, we're just sort of bringing
I
some stuff
thought
up.
we were having a crime off, so I will.
Okay.
Do you want me to share the case that I
Yeah, go
found
on.
when looking? So, does anyone remember the TV show Beauty and the Geek? I
Yes.
think it was only on in America. They never did it wasn't really an English thing, but Beauty and the Geek. So it was like a pageant level women and guys who were considered not so attractive getting together in couples and doing that sort of
Yeah.
show. Well, on the Australian version in 2010, there's a lady called Damika Cheza, and in June 2024 there was a fire at her house, and her neighbor came out and said, I'm a bit concerned about that. She went, don't worry about it, it's fine. And she walked off and went off to walk the dog, carrying with her a bag. The neighbor was concerned, so the neighbor went and called the fire services and the police. And when they went into that house, they found the dismembered remains of Tamika Chesa's boyfriend at the time, partner, I think just boyfriend partner, Julian Story in there, no head, and it was a long time before his head was found. And it was believed that she had it in the bag when she walked off from outside the house. And then when the police arrived, they found her in the garden and she was in like some sort of altered state. Like she wasn't like she didn't know what was going on.
Mm.
She was had some sort of break or something had happened to her. She was like maybe catatonic state or something like that. So she's now in an asylum, and I don't think there's been an update on this. It's only 2024, so I don't know. I think, she admitted to doing it, but for a while she wouldn't tell them where his head was.
The
But
head
I
in
just
the
think like
bag.
was in the bag, but
I mean,
she,
that's gonna
well,
stain everything, isn't it?
she can't drive. So she walked off with that head. It's can't, that's only so far away it can be. because she didn't, unless she got on a bus, I suppose. I don't know. But they were like tracking her movements to try and find it. And I think eventually it was found by a dog walker, and thankfully returned to his family. But yeah, so she was this beauty queen. I think she came second when she was on Beauty and the Geek in the couple. So she did quite well on the show. And I just think that's bizarre. Like, what has gone on there? Not just to kind of, I could see like crime of passion, snap, something happens, but to then like dismember him
Was he a
and then try
contestant
and set
or a
the house on
partner?
fire.
Was he a contestant? Was he one of the geeks?
No, he was her partner at the time. Yeah, he was just her current partner. So she'd left the show. Apparently, I never watched the Australian version, but from the research I did, I heard people who had watched it saying she seemed very normal, like on the
I'd have
show.
liked
There was
her.
nothing that would.
How does a beheader act? Do you know what I mean? It's like,
It's true.
Walking around with an axe.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm on the show. I'm looking for a particular kind of partner.
One that bends over and extends his neck long enough
Yeah,
for me
particularly long neck would be great.
Yeah.
But just, I mean, we shouldn't. Well, we mustn't laugh, but that's what the show's about. But like, but yeah, what has gone on? Is it a crime of passion? Did it just happen in that moment? Is she in some sort of odd state? I think there was some evidence that well, I'm not sure if there was evidence. I think there was allegations that she had been behaving strangely beforehand. So she'd, for the weeks prior to this happening, I think she'd shaved her hair. She'd shaved all her hair off. So she'd had some potential red flags that maybe something was going on for her mentally. But to think that it would go from that to doing that to somebody is quite the leap. So yes, that was, I think I would have won the crime off if we were having one with that.
I was going to say that. I was going to literally say, because not only did you do beauty pageants, but you covered our second episode's worth of Asylum.
I did. Yeah.
I know. I know. So Sally-Anne would have to have gone with you. So I'm so glad I chose the other way. But we are coming to the end of this episode.
I segued us. Look, segued us brilliantly.
You did.
Part 2.
So yes, listeners and viewers, do join us back for part 2. Sally-Anne will be kept for the week down the red rabbit hole. She's in good company with many other authors that we've managed to keep down here.
Just been talking about that, and there's a massive skull behind you,
Sally-Anne. I know.
I've just noticed.
I thought I was going to. I'm going to be in a commune of authors. I'm not a fan of a commune. Can I have a little space on my own?
You can. You don't have to interact with anybody unless you want to. There is no forced interaction in the red rabbit hole.
Good.
We believe in everyone.
There's only ever one guest at a time.
Yeah, they have the choice, but they do tend to come back for some reason. There's a lot of Stockholm syndrome going on.
They like it.
They like it. So yeah,
I keep seeing authors all along my usual running path, like just hanging around and poking their heads out of bushes looking for
already
me.
In a sack, waiting.
Hello. All right, not today. I'm chasing a PB.
So yes, so do come back to us for the second episode, and also I think this is airing in October, hopefully, and you should be deep into the 31 Days of Halloween special that we're doing.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh.
Sally-Anne is also going to do for us, hopefully with the skull.
I love Halloween. Yeah. I cannot wait. It's already in my head, the countdown.
Yeah, we've already got some stories coming, so it's like, oh. Okay, guys, so remember to follow the Red Rabbit wherever you get your social media, and do subscribe wherever you're listening or watching this, because it makes a huge difference to us and it helps us continue our mad ramblings, doesn't it, Lise?
It does indeed. Gives us a platform to cosplay as Hamilton.
Yes. And, which Lisa still really wants to do that. That seems to be her raison d'etre now.
If you want to see those, follow us on TikTok at Red Rabbit Pod. We're also on Instagram and Facebook and Patreon and YouTube.
Yay.
Do like and subscribe.
Follow us, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.